Do employers provide working notice? Seems to
Yeah,
me it's just a quick termination always and not working notice.
that's true. There's no question that's true. And the most obvious reason is that you have a disenchanted employee working, so they're likely not going to be productive, and there could be challenges in terms of relationships, etc. So yes, working notice is not frequent. But what's interesting is what happens if you give working notice to an employee and it's deficient. So what can happen in that scenario is the employer provides working notice and says, let's say, for example, the employee's entitled to 6 months common law reasonable notice, but the employer only gives 3 months. So the employee says, well, that's inadequate. I'm out of here. And I wanted to be out of here anyways for a whole variety of reasons. I didn't want to stick around. But given that you've now provided me inadequate working notice, I'm definitely out of here. So what happens? So the employer's position on that is, well, you abandoned your employment, you left, I don't owe you anything. The employee says, yeah, but you didn't give me adequate working notice. Very few decisions in that area, but it appears this is the way the courts will approach it. Employer, by giving inadequate notice at the outset, you breached your legal obligation. On the employee side, the employee, however, had the opportunity to work that period of time that was offered. And assuming there's not an acrimonious relationship, what the court's going to do in the example I gave is say, okay, employer, you owe 6 months. That's the common law reasonable notice obligation. Employee, you were offered to work 3 months. So employer, I'm going to award 6 months less the 3 months that the employee could have worked. So it's an interesting scenario in that the employee can't just abandon ship, as it were, because the employer breached its obligation to provide reasonable notice. So that deficient notice doesn't permit the employee to just walk away and say, employer, you owe me, in the example I gave, the entire 6 months. So it's an interesting scenario that can arise with working
No,
notice.
it's not because we're not telling a story. It's the quibble in between that's funny.
It's the quibble.
It's like
Who uses the word quibble? Oh my God. That
Isn't it?
sounds like a breakfast cereal. Eat your quibbles.